On the eve of the wedding, my wife, wearing her wedding dress, held a small private wedding ceremony in advance with her crush. Afterward, her crush even made a post, writing, "Caro, even if we can't become real husband and wife, being able to hold a sacred wedding with you still counts as me having married you." The post was accompanied by a video. In the video, my wife's crush knelt on one knee and confessed his love to my wife, Carolina, with deep affection. Carolina was so moved in the video that she burst into tears, crying until her makeup was completely ruined. At the very end, the two of them shared a passionate kiss. I quietly liked the post and left a comment, "Wishing you a lifetime of happiness together and lots of children." Just after I posted the comment, my wife called me. Her voice carried a trace of panic. "Oscar, Duncan and I just did this to make up for past regrets. After tonight, tomorrow I'll be only your bride. No need." I replied calmly. "I'm a clean freak. I don't like things that others have already used." Chapter 1. After hanging up the phone, I didn't waste a single second. I informed all our relatives and friends that the engagement banquet was cancelled. I also cancelled the hotel reservations, including the wedding cars we had already booked. Relatives and friends began calling one after another, sending messages to ask what had happened, why the wedding date that had already been set was suddenly cancelled. I gave them a brief explanation. Hearing that my tone wasn't very good, they didn't press further. I sat alone in the room, silent for a moment, then called my father. My father's serious voice came through the phone. "What's going on with you? Canceling the wedding banquet is a big deal. Why didn't you discuss it with me in advance?" "Dad, Carolina Moo and I aren't suitable for each other. Withdraw our cooperation with the Moo group." My father knows my personality. He also knows how deeply I loved Carolina. If it weren't something I truly couldn't accept, I wouldn't have made such a decision. He was silent for a moment before speaking again. "All right, son, did Carolina wrong you in any way? If you've been treated unfairly, tell Dad. I'll make sure you get justice." My father's protective nature was acting up again. I let out a soft laugh. "It's fine, Dad. This is a small matter. Your son can handle it." "All right, son. Dad believes in you. I'll withdraw the cooperation with the Moo group first thing tomorrow morning." After briefly talking with my father, I lay on the bed, looking at the newly decorated wedding house. The entire place was filled with festive decorations, overflowing with an air of happiness. In both the bedroom and the living room, large wedding photos of Carolina and me were hanging everywhere. In the photos, Carolina was smiling sweetly, but now, looking at them, they felt nothing but fake. So love can be faked, even when there is no love at all. I contacted a cleaning company. They told me they were off work for the day and could only come tomorrow. "I'm willing to pay extra, double, triple." Hearing that, the cleaning company didn't hesitate and quickly sent people over. "Sir, are you getting married tomorrow? Do you need us to clean the room?" the cleaners asked when they entered and saw the festive wedding setup. "I'm not getting married tomorrow. Remove everything in the house and restore the room to its original state," I said calmly. The cleaning ladies were clearly puzzled, but they still did exactly as I instructed. About 2 or 3 hours later, the house was restored to how it used to be, as if nothing had ever happened. And in my heart, I knew it clearly. My relationship with Carolina had reached its end. I had already contacted a lawyer to draft the divorce agreement. It would be delivered to me tomorrow morning. After finishing all of this, I felt unexpectedly relaxed, as if a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I lay on the bed and soon fell into a deep sleep. It wasn't until the next day, when someone knocked on the door, that I woke up. I saw Carolina return home, looking exhausted and dispirited. She stood in front of me, her eyes red, wearing an expression of deep grievance and hurt. Chapter 2. We looked at each other. Suddenly, tears slid down her face, soaking her cheeks. She raised her hand to wipe away the tears. Seeing that I was still silent, not saying a single word, Carolina finally spoke. "Oscar, you've changed, completely changed. In the past, as soon as I cried, you would do everything you could to comfort me, using every possible way to make me happy. You said you couldn't bear to see me cry. As long as I cried, you felt the whole world was in the wrong. But now I'm crying, and you're completely indifferent. Did your heart change that fast? Have you forgotten that you said you would love me and take care of me for the rest of your life?" Her tears flowed uncontrollably. I watched her put on her brilliant performance. I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. "Do you still need me to take care of you now? Isn't it enough to have your former lover take care of you?" My emotions were calm, with hardly any ripples left. As soon as my words landed, a trace of anger appeared on Carolina's face, but that anger came quickly and disappeared just as fast. It was clearly being suppressed. If she weren't feeling guilty, her fury would have exploded long ago. In the past, whenever anything I did didn't meet her expectations even slightly, her emotions would erupt. Of course, back then, I loved her. I was willing to cater to her everywhere, accommodate her, and satisfy some of her unreasonable demands. Just as she had said, I couldn't bear for her to suffer even the slightest grievance. But what was the result? On the eve of our wedding, She held a wedding with her former lover first, turning me into a joke, treating me like a clown. Can you stop saying things on purpose just to make me angry? What happened between Duncan and me was just an act for the occasion. You can't take it seriously. Can't take it seriously. Then what was all that sobbing about? I asked. Carolina froze for a moment. I'm easily moved. You know that. My tear glands are sensitive. I cry easily. Crying doesn't mean anything. Do you really have to cling to such a small thing? As a man, can't you be more magnanimous? Her gaze swept across the room. She probably noticed that everything related to our wedding was gone. Her lips trembled slightly. You only know how to bully me. Over such a small matter. You tore apart our wedding home. Do you know how much effort I put into choosing and decorating everything? I truly wanted to marry you. No need, I said coldly. Haven't you already held a wedding with your new lover? I couldn't be bothered to deal with her. I brushed past her, preparing to walk out. But suddenly, she threw herself into my arms, wrapping both arms around me. Her tears soaked through my clothes. Oscar, I'm not angry about you tearing apart our wedding home. This time, I'll forgive you. I have an idea. We won't hold a wedding, and we won't invite any guests. Let's just have a destination wedding. Okay, we can take a ship to see the northern lights. I've heard the northern lights are beautiful. Couples who see the northern lights together can stay happy for a lifetime. As she spoke, she tilted her face up, looking at me with anticipation. Her eyes shimmered with hopeful, crystalline tears. Chapter 3. So this time, she was forgiving me. Was this her lowering her head and admitting fault to me? Or was she giving me a chance to lower my head and admit fault to her? In the past, if she had given me a way out, I would definitely have gone along with it. I used to tell her all the time that I didn't want our conflicts to last overnight. I didn't want negative emotions to keep piling up and then explode at some specific moment. So during our relationship, no matter who was right or wrong, I was always willing to apologize. But now, I couldn't do that anymore. I'm very emotionally exclusive. I reached out and pushed Carolina away, but instead of loosening her grip, Carolina held me even tighter, even rising onto her tiptoes to try to kiss me. In my mind, the image of her passionately kissing Duncan last night instantly resurfaced. Kiss me, Oscar. I increased my strength and shoved Carolina away, then instinctively took several steps back, putting distance between us. Carolina's eyes trembled, disbelief flashing through her gaze. If you want to kiss someone, go find Duncan. I'm not interested. I shot back bluntly. It was as if Carolina's emotions finally snapped. She immediately said to me, "Now I see it clearly. You don't care about me at all. Do you still remember the written promise you gave me back then? You said that if I ever found out you didn't love me, didn't care about me, or didn't treat me well, I could punish you." She took the written guarantee I had once written out of her bag. She began reading it aloud to me. One of the clauses said, "If you make me angry, I can punish you by making you kneel on a keyboard or kneel on durians, and then swear to the heavens that you'll never make me angry again." Fine, I'm using that right now. Kneel down immediately, apologize, and swear. She looked smug and self-satisfied. I watched the scene in front of me with a cold chuckle, as if I were looking at a clown. Back when I wrote that letter of guarantee, it was all because I loved her. It was never meant to become some kind of imperial edict for her to use to punish me now. Oscar, I've already been tolerant enough with you. You canceled the wedding, returned the wedding cars, and even tore down the wedding house I carefully prepared. I'm not angry. I can even pretend none of it happened. I already said we could replace the wedding with a destination wedding. But why don't you know how to cherish this? Why do you have to push me to this point? She once again put on a pitiful expression, portraying herself as the victim. Do you know how disappointed I am in your behavior right now? It's like a needle stabbing into my heart. My heart is bleeding. Do you know that? Why aren't you speaking? Why are you so cold? Don't you love me anymore? At this moment, I felt there was no longer any need to communicate with her. I strode toward the door. Her voice rang out from behind me. I walked straight out the door, without looking back. Her shrill voice pierced through the door behind me. Oscar, stop right there. I'll count to 3. If you don't come back, you'll bear the consequences yourself. Chapter 4. These tricks used to work extremely well on me. Back when I loved her, she didn't even need to take out that so-called letter of guarantee. As long as she opened her mouth, to me it was an imperial decree. During the 4 years I was with her, with my help, her family's small company grew from earning only $100,000 or $200,000 a year to generating over $10 million in annual revenue. I spoiled her, loved her, and fulfilled every request she made, including marriage, no matter what conditions she proposed. I never refused. The wedding dress she wore last night when she held a wedding with the men she loved. I had used every connection and channel I had to find a world-class, top-tier designer to custom make it. That was also her demand. I had once suggested finding a different designer. She flatly refused. She said that if the wedding dress wasn't designed by that specific designer, she wouldn't marry me. She was willful and domineering. But back then, I thought it was cute. Yet in the end, the wedding dress that cost me enormous effort and expense, she wore it to become someone else's bride. Thinking back on that scene now, I can only say my brain must have been kicked by a donkey. She asked for an $88 million bride price. I didn't hesitate for even a second before agreeing. After I left the house, I happened to run into the lawyer who came to deliver the divorce agreement. I took the documents from him and thanked him. After the lawyer left, I found a quiet, secluded place to sit down. I read through the divorce agreement once. Not long after, my father called. Son, we've already terminated the cooperation with the Mu family. All right, Dad. Son, if you've suffered any injustice, tell your father. My son isn't someone just anyone can bully. I let out a soft laugh. I know. Dad, didn't you say before that you wanted me to take over the overseas branch as the person in charge? Yes. Why? Have you finally thought it through? There was a hint of excitement in my father's voice. Yes, I've thought it through. Once I finish handling things here, I'll go abroad in the next couple of days. That's great. Son, Dad really didn't misjudge you, he said excitedly. In fact, my father had brought this up many times before. He said I wasn't that old yet, and this was the prime time to focus on my career. I knew he was actually hinting that he didn't really approve of my marriage to Carolina. After all, he had originally wanted me to marry the daughter of the Tang group. He said marriages between families of equal standing were the best and most stable. He even told me that the Tang group's daughter was beautiful and highly capable. Back then, listening to him say all this, I only felt that my father was shallow. What era was this already, still talking about matching family backgrounds? I immediately rejected him and told him not to bring up the Tang group's daughter again. I also reiterated to him that I loved Carolina deeply, wholeheartedly, that in this lifetime, I would marry no one but Carolina. Seeing how firm my attitude was, my father didn't say anything more. At the time, when my father suggested I go abroad to take over the company, I also refused again and again, because I didn't want to be separated from Carolina. I wanted to stay by her side at all times. Thinking back on that mindset now, it was unbelievably childish. Dad, once I finish dealing with things here, I'll go abroad. All right, son. After talking with my father, I hung up, but not long after, Carolina called. At first, I didn't answer. It wasn't until she had called more than 10 times in a row that I finally picked up. A sharp, piercing voice immediately came through the phone. Oscar, are you really going to be this ruthless? Why did you withdraw the investment from my family? Just because I held a fake wedding with Duncan, you're going to pull your investment from my family? You already canceled the wedding banquet, canceled the wedding cars, and tore apart the wedding house. I didn't blame you for any of that. I even thought you were just being willful and throwing a little tantrum, an expression of loving me. But now you've really crossed the line. You actually dared to withdraw your investment from my family. This time, I'm really angry. She unleashed a full-blown tantrum. Listening to her say all this, I genuinely wanted to laugh. And then, I asked calmly, do you believe that I'll divorce you right now and disappear completely, making you lose me forever, never able to find me again? She threatened me harshly. In the past, it really had been like that. Whenever she was unhappy or angry, she would block my phone number and all other means of communication, then hide somewhere. I wouldn't be able to find her, and I'd go crazy searching everywhere for her. Back then, I truly loved her, deeply, and I was terrified of losing her completely. But now, I didn't care about her at all. Fine, I agree. Let's get divorced right now, I said calmly. Her voice immediately became flustered and panicked. What did you say? Oscar, you actually dared to divorce me. Aren't you afraid of losing me forever? Chapter 5. You're not afraid of losing me. So why should I be afraid? I said coldly. A woman who dares to be ambiguous with another man even during marriage. Why should I still hold her up, cherish her, and love her? All the sincerity I gave over these years, I'll just treat it as feeding it to the dogs. Why do you think of me as being so despicable? Haven't all these years of feelings between us been enough to offset such a tiny mistake? Carolina questioned me sharply. She almost made me laugh out of anger. I shot back. Since you think this is just a tiny mistake, does that mean I can also hold a wedding with another woman? After a brief silence, Carolina practically roared. Oscar, you said you would never betray me in this lifetime. I had never once thought of betraying her. In the past, I was genuinely devoted to her. I could swear on my conscience that I had never done anything to wrong her. But what about her? She trampled on my love without restraint. You're the one who betrayed me first. What right do you have to say any of this to me? After calming my emotions, I continued. I'll have someone deliver the divorce agreement to you. Let's part peacefully. Before she could say anything, I hung up the phone. I didn't want to listen to Carolina lose control anymore. Today there was a very important collaboration meeting. It was originally supposed to be postponed, but since the engagement was cancelled, it would proceed as scheduled. I checked the time and drove straight to the Tang group. The Tang group is evenly matched with my family in terms of strength, making it an excellent partner. When I arrived, the front desk recognized my identity and immediately had someone escort me upstairs. I had thought that, like usual, the person negotiating with me today would be President Tang. Instead, I saw the Tang family's daughter, Serafina Tang, sitting in the office. The first time I met Serafina was at a charity gala hosted by the Tang Group. At the time, I simply thought she was very beautiful. Seeing her again now, I noticed that every gesture she made radiated an elegant and captivating aura. "You're here." Serafina stood up and invited me to sit, then instructed her secretary to make me a cup of coffee. I asked curiously, "What about your father?" "He's on a business trip, so he asked me to handle the meeting with you." She wore a faint smile, her tone gentle and pleasant to listen to. I took out the cooperation proposal and explained it to Serafina in detail. After more than an hour of discussion, she expressed strong interest in the plan, and the contract was successfully signed. "My father often tells me that Oscar is young and promising. Seeing you today, it truly lives up to his words." Serafina looked at me with clear admiration in her eyes. I smiled lightly. "You flatter me, Oscar. You really do have the capability, no need to be modest. But speaking of which, tomorrow is your engagement banquet. You still came to discuss cooperation today, don't you need to prepare?" she asked calmly. Her mentioning the engagement banquet genuinely caught me off guard. I suppressed the turmoil rising in my chest and said, "It's been cancelled. We're already in the process of divorce." A flicker of surprise crossed Serafina's eyes, but she didn't ask any further questions. Seeing that it was already lunchtime, I suggested treating her to a meal. She didn't refuse. I immediately made a reservation. At the restaurant, Serafina and I talked about many things, and I realized we shared a lot of common ground. For the first time, I truly felt the importance of being well matched. Serafina and Carolina were completely different, whether in behavior or in mindset. "Oscar." Carolina's voice suddenly came from behind me. Chapter 6. I turned my head in surprise and saw her letting go of Duncan's arm, storming toward me angrily. "So that's why you suddenly canceled the engagement. Turns out you have another woman outside. Who is this woman?" After glaring at me with fury, Carolina shifted her gaze to Serafina. With just one look, the anger in her eyes visibly weakened. Viewed on her own, Carolina was indeed beautiful and sweet, but standing next to Serafina, she was simply not on the same level. That was exactly why Carolina hated standing beside women who were more attractive than her. Serafina was tall, with thick jet black hair that flowed smoothly like silk. Her striking, elegant features were the kind that left a lasting impression at first glance. "And who are you?" Carolina still put on the airs of the rightful wife. If she couldn't win on looks, she had to dominate in presence. Serafina didn't get angry at her rudeness. She merely smiled faintly, her tone still gentle. "My name is Serafina. I'm Oscar's business partner." "Business partner? Who are you trying to fool? Why have I never seen you before?" Carolina's aggressive demeanor made her look like a shrew. She had always been like this. Toward any woman who appeared around me, even if there was absolutely nothing between us, she would get angry over it. Back then, I thought it was because she cared about me. I was even happy about it, so I would deliberately keep my distance from other women. Now that I thought about it, it was never about caring at all. It was simply her possessiveness at work. "Have you made enough of a scene?" I looked at her with a dark expression. Carolina took it as me defending Serafina and became even angrier, her voice rising sharply. "Oscar, you heartless man, now you're yelling at me for some woman outside, boo-hoo." Her outburst drew a lot of attention. Some people even took out their phones and recorded the scene. A waiter quickly stepped in to intervene. "Miss, loud disturbances aren't allowed here. If you continue, I'll have to ask you to leave. My husband is cheating on me, having a meal here with some other woman. I can't even cry about it." Carolina looked at the waiter pitifully, tears trembling in her eyes. The waiter looked helpless. "But you still can't cause a disturbance here. You're affecting other customers' meals." Duncan, who had been silent all this time, stepped forward and gently pulled Carolina, speaking in a low voice. "Caro, don't be angry. I believe Oscar isn't that kind of person." With just that one sentence, Carolina's attitude immediately softened, but her tone was still full of indignation as she said, "Oscar, if you're still a man, then apologize to me right now." Chapter 7. Why should I apologize to you? My patience was already being worn down to the last thread. "You having a meal alone with another woman is wrong," Carolina said, looking at me aggrieved. "Did you forget what you promised me? You said you would never eat alone with any woman other than me. Then what does it count as when you walk in holding another man's hand?" I shot back, exposing her on the spot. She liked making a scene in public. Fine, I'd go all the way with her. After all, my conscience was clear. Carolina's expression changed slightly as she tried to explain. "Duncan saw that I was in a bad mood, so he brought me out to eat. He even spoke up for you just now. How can you think of us like that?" Before she could finish, a nearby waiter suddenly spoke up. "I just saw her walk in holding hands with that guy. She even said her husband was cheating. Clearly, she's the one cheating on him. Isn't this just setting fires for herself while forbidding others to light a lamp?" Harsh whispers rose one after another. Carolina had always cared deeply about saving face. Just now, she still had the upper hand. But now that these words came from someone else, Even if she wanted to argue back, she had no ground to stand on. Duncan's face darkened as well. He turned around and left directly. Carolina no longer had the nerve to stay either and hurried after Duncan. The farce finally came to an end. I looked at Serafina apologetically and said, "I'm really sorry. This meal ended up being unpleasant for you." "It's fine," she said calmly. "But your wife seems to have misunderstood us. Aren't you going to explain it to her?" Serafina didn't seem affected by what had just happened at all. I gave a bitter smile. "Someone will comfort her. I don't know what exactly happened between you two," Serafina said gently. "But no matter what it is, things need a solution. Some matters are better made clear. Otherwise, even if you get divorced, you may still end up entangled over certain issues." She picked up her napkin and lightly wiped her lips, still wearing that elegant smile. "The food here is very good. I have something else to take care of, so I'll head out first." My emotions were in turmoil. She was right. Some things had to be said clearly. That night, I called a few brothers out to drink at a bar. When they heard that I'd canceled the engagement, they were all happy for me. "Oscar, I always thought you two weren't a good match." Quinn, who was sitting next to me, spoke up first. "That Carolina always looked small-minded. And honestly, she's pretty average looking. We even joked back then that your eyesight must have been bad." "Exactly," Samuel chimed in, then realized he'd almost said something inappropriate and quickly corrected himself. "Anyway, it's good that you're divorced with your conditions. What kind of woman can't you find?" It wasn't surprising that they didn't have a good impression of Carolina. Every time she went out with me, she'd throw a tantrum over the smallest things, even in front of them. She never held back. She thought of herself as a high and mighty princess, believing everyone should cater to her. When I loved her, I truly was willing to treat her like a princess. But now, I didn't love her anymore. "All right, enough about her. Drink, drink." I poured a full glass of alcohol down my throat. For some reason, it tasted bitter. Suddenly, the private room door was pushed open. Chapter 8. Carolina stormed into the private room in a rage, still holding the divorce agreement I had someone deliver to her. "Oscar, are you really going to divorce me?" She didn't care that other people were in the room. She questioned me out loud, as if I were the one who had done something unforgivable. "The divorce agreement is already in your hands. Do you still think I'm joking?" I leaned back against the sofa, looking at her calmly. Strangely enough, when I loved her before, I thought everything about her was wonderful. Now that I no longer loved her, she seemed painfully ordinary. "I won't divorce you," Carolina said firmly. I curled my lips into a faint smile. "Are you sure? Don't regret it later." Carolina froze for a moment, then her eyes reddened, and she spoke with a choked voice. "You said that in this lifetime there would be no divorce, only widowhood. If you want to divorce me, it'll only happen if I die." Those deeply emotional words almost moved me. "Isn't the person you like Duncan? I'm giving you your freedom, shouldn't you be happy?" I said indifferently. Carolina walked over, grabbed my hand, and said earnestly, "I did like him before, but the only person I love now is you. I really don't want a divorce." Her tone softened considerably. I expressionlessly shook her hand off and looked at her with a half smile. "I can't bear your kind of love." After that, I took out my phone and made a call. "Have all partners terminate their cooperation with the Mu Group." As soon as those few words left my mouth, Carolina Mu's face changed drastically. She stared at me in disbelief. "You're telling all partners to cancel cooperation with the Mu Group? Are you trying to watch my family go bankrupt?" I smiled lightly. "Yes. Everything the Mu Group had today was given by me. If I could lift them up, I could also send them straight back to nothing." "Oscar, I was wrong. Please don't do this." Carolina panicked. She knew very well that once all the partners withdrew, the Mu Group wouldn't last long before completely collapsing, and she would no longer be that lofty heiress. "Carolina, you're the one who wronged Oscar in the first place. How do you still have the face to beg him now?" Samuel, who had always disliked Carolina's behavior, couldn't help but speak up. Carolina shot him a glare full of anger, but she still forced herself to suppress it. At that moment, her phone suddenly rang. She looked at the screen, and her face turned even paler. She answered the call and called out, "Dad." No one knew what her father said. She hung up without a word. She looked at me in despair. The arrogance in her eyes was completely gone. "Does it really have to be like this? So, are you signing the divorce agreement or not?" I stared at the crumpled papers in her hand. Carolina said nothing. Her eyes were filled with tears. "Carolina, Oscar has already shown you enough respect." Samuel spoke again. "If you have any sense, just sign the divorce agreement. Otherwise, things will only get uglier." Another long silence followed. Finally, Carolina spoke in a choking voice. "Fine, I'll sign, but you have to promise me you can't let the partners cancel cooperation with the Mu Group." "All right." In fact, I didn't even need to say anything. Those partners had only cooperated with her family out of respect for me in the first place. Once they knew I was divorcing Carolina, there was naturally no reason to continue working with the Mu Group. Samuel immediately handed Carolina a pen. After hesitating for a long time, just as she was about to sign, She unwillingly said one last thing. Once we're divorced, there will be nothing between us ever again. Chapter 9. I gave a faint Since I had chosen to end things, there was naturally no reason to have any further contact with her. Seeing how resolute my attitude was, Carolina could only helplessly sign her name on the divorce agreement. The moment I obtained the signed papers, I suddenly felt much lighter. That night, I drank a lot, so much that I didn't even know how I got back home. When I woke up the next day, my entire body felt groggy and heavy. I lay in bed for quite a while before finally getting up. When I went downstairs to eat, I found that my father was there, and his expression didn't look very good. I walked over, smiled, and greeted him. "Dad, why do you have time to come over today?" "Oscar, have you seen today's trending news?" my father asked in a low voice. I looked at him, slightly confused, and shook my head. "What happened?" My father frowned. "Open your phone and take a look yourself." Curious, I opened my phone and checked the trending topics. My expression instantly changed. The headline was extremely eye-catching. Young Master Oscar cheating during marriage with heiress Serafina. I clicked into it and saw that it was actually a video of Serafina Tang and me having dinner at the restaurant that day. The video had clearly been edited. In the footage, Carolina was portrayed entirely as the victim. The comment section was full of discussions, some talking about Serafina and me, others defending Carolina. One particular comment caught my attention. A user named Sunshine After the Storm wrote, "Don't you think Oscar and Serafina are actually more compatible? Standing next to Serafina, this Carolina looks so tacky. I told you long ago that Carolina wasn't worthy of you, no upbringing at all." My father said angrily, "This video didn't just smear me and Serafina. It also damaged the image of both of our family's companies. Aside from Carolina, there was no one else who would do something like this. Originally, I had planned to let Carolina off the hook, but since she had taken things this far, she had no one to blame but herself. Dad, she and I are already divorced. Do whatever needs to be done, don't go easy on her." My father froze for a moment. "She was willing to divorce you." "Of course she wasn't," I said calmly, "but I used the future of the Mu Group as the price." She had no choice but to sign the divorce agreement. Chapter 10. My dad let out a light sigh, looking quite relieved. "My son has finally stopped thinking with his heart," he said with satisfaction. "By the way, you met Serafina yesterday. What did you think of her?" He immediately switched to gossip mode. I smiled helplessly. "Miss Tang is very beautiful, and we have a lot of common topics." "That's exactly what I said. You two are a match made in heaven. If it weren't for Carolina, I'd probably already be holding my grandson by now." My dad muttered discontentedly. I put my phone away. "Dad, leave this matter to me." "All right." My dad didn't say anything more. After that, I had people collect evidence of Carolina cheating. She thought that by posting that video online, she could completely ruin me. How ridiculous. In less than a single morning, photos and videos of Carolina being together with Duncan were all sent to my phone. I forwarded all of that evidence to my lawyer and had him sue the person who posted the video. After taking care of everything, I told the servants to pack my luggage. All of this would be resolved within a day anyway. That evening, before leaving, I planned to get together with my brothers one last time. Just as I was about to head out, Carolina appeared out of nowhere and lunged straight at me. "Oscar, I know you hate me, but why did you have to hurt Duncan?" Carolina glared at me through clenched teeth, looking as if she wanted to swallow me alive. I frowned slightly and said calmly, "When did I ever hurt Duncan? Are you out of your mind? Wasn't it you who told the lawyer to sue him?" Carolina became more and more agitated as she spoke. I suddenly realized, so it was Duncan who posted that video. I had thought it was her. "So what? What are you planning to do? Ask me to let Duncan go?" I pushed Carolina away and straightened the clothes she had wrinkled. "Sorry, I'm not a saint." Carolina looked furious yet completely helpless. If he hadn't spread rumors about me online, why would the lawyer have sued him in the first place? Watching how anxious she was for Duncan, I knew that this woman had never truly loved me. She claimed to love me, but in reality, she only loved wealth and luxury. Only I could satisfy her material needs. As for Duncan, he had accomplished nothing to this day. Make the lawyer withdraw the lawsuit right now, or his whole life will be ruined, Carolina said anxiously. I tugged at the corner of my mouth. "Sorry, that's impossible. Instead of worrying about him, you should worry about yourself." My dad may have already told all the partners to cancel their cooperation with the Mu family. My dad had always been decisive. If something could be done this second, he would never delay it until the next. A trace of shock flashed across Carolina's face. She froze for a few seconds before finally reacting. "Didn't you promise me you wouldn't let them cancel the cooperation? Why are you going back on your word now?" "I promised you," I replied calmly, but my dad didn't. I didn't bother with her anymore and got straight into the car. Carolina tried to chase after me, but she ran too fast and fell to the ground. "Oscar, you can't do this. I'll hate you for the rest of my life." Chapter 11. She screamed at the top of her lungs. "Hate me if you want." It didn't matter anymore, after all. We would never see each other again in this lifetime. The next day, the lawyer sent me a message saying that Duncan was definitely going to prison. As for the Mu family, since all the partners had cancelled their cooperation, the company fell into debt overnight. I heard that Carolina Mu had gone crazy trying to find me, and that she was accidentally hit by a car while out on the street. They said it was pretty serious. As for me, I was already pulling my suitcase and had arrived at the boarding gate. Oscar, what a coincidence. Are you also going to Country A? A familiar voice suddenly came from behind me. I turned around in surprise and met a pair of clear, bright eyes. A hint of delight flashed through them. Miss Tang, are you going abroad today as well? Yes. Serafina replied with a gentle smile. My dad asked me to go manage the overseas company. What about you? Were there really such coincidences in this world? But whether it was a coincidence or not, it still counted as fate. After boarding the plane, an even bigger coincidence awaited us. Our seats were right next to each other. It seems we really are destined, I said. Yes, she replied with a smile. I was worried that going abroad alone would be boring. Now that you're with me, it won't be boring anymore. After getting off the plane, I turned on my phone and saw a message from my dad. You little brat. Make sure you get along well with Serafina. I'm still waiting to hold my grandson.